Good morning. Good week. We'll be learning a Maimor in the Parshas Shoftim. Maimor was said in Beis Elul. This week, I believe Rosh Chodesh is going to be Thursday and Friday.
Right.
So this Maimor was said in 1969. Not a long Maimor this time. Shoftim Veshotrim titen lecha b'chol sharecha. The whole pasuk says, "Asher Hashem Elokecha noisen chol shvatecha v'shofta esam mishpat tzedek." Messiah uvi'arto ro mikirbecha. Then later on it says, "Uvi'arto ro miYisrael." So, what does that mean? You have to appoint judges and officers in all your gates. They have a judicial system, court system, and be able to enforce the law. Ultimately, you need to remove the evil from within, or you have to remove the evil from Israel at the end of the at the end of this. Regarding this, ending this topic, the rabbi said in a midrash, Koheles Rabo, there's a midrash that says, Ir Ketano, there's a little city, small city, very few people in the city, and a big king came, surrounded the city, and he built castles. So he found a poor man. There was a poor man, but smart guy. And he was able to save the city with his wisdom. No one remembered that later on, nobody remembered that he's the one that saved the town. Okay? So Ir Ketana Zaguf, that's the story in the Midrash. What is Ir Ketano? Small city is the body. Vanoshim b'me'at, very few people, Elo Evo, that referencing to the limbs of the body. Vol Melech God, the great king came, referring to the evil inclination. And then he comes, the Yetzer Hara comes, and he builds castles, he builds walls, he's trying to overcome the person, is trying to conquer him, to dominate him, and to subjugate him, to be under his, to be governed by him, be under him. So regarding this, it says, you have to appoint judges and officers in all your gates. We have to place judges and officers in all our gates, in our body, the Ir Ketano, this small city, in order to prevent from the Yetzer Hara to conquer it. You don't want to allow the Yetzer Hara in, so you're creating barriers, that these are the judges and officers. So he comes up with ideas, right? The Yetzer Hara is shooting ideas. And you have to have judges and officers to decide, hey, it's not only that it's a bad idea, I need to ignore it. And the officers to make sure that it's not going to be, you're not going to listen to it. So what's the purpose primarily of the Shoftim Veshotrim, these judges and officers, to eradicate evil from within, get rid of any kind of schmutz, any kind of dirt, any kind of filth, to get rid of it. The Kailets, or what is the filth and the dirt? It's the Yetzer Hara. So get rid of it. The Gemara in Sukkah says, Shiva Shemesh Yesh Lo Yetzer Hara, Kadosh Baruch Hu Kor Ra. There are 7 names. The Gemara in Sukkah gives 7 names. Sukkah 52. The Gemara gives 7 names to the evil inclination. And Hashem, what's the name that was given to him by Hashem, was Ra, evil. Right, the Gemara says, Ki Yetzer Leva Odom Ra Min Urav. The Yetzer, the evil inclination of man, is evil from its youth, from the beginning, so to speak. Regarding this, the Torah tells us you have to get rid of the evil from within. By chasing away the evil inclination from within you, if you're able to get rid of the Yetzer Hara, ultimately you're getting rid of the evil that is within the Jewish people. And ultimately, eventually you get rid of the evil from the whole world. The Rambam writes in the Laws of Tshuva in Perek Gimel, Rambam writes, they have to always look at yourself as half guilty, half meritorious. And similarly, the world. If you're doing one mitzvah, you can tilt the world for merits, and if you do Avera, do, God forbid, the other way around. Also, so from what do we see from it? That every peula, every act that you do can impact the world, not just you, but the whole world. So similarly, in our context, getting rid of the Yetzer Hara can influence not just you, but the whole world. He goes first to you, then the Jewish people, and then the world as a whole. Since the creation of the world was for the Jewish people, Rabbi said, what is called Bereshis? In the beginning, Genesis, it's for Israel, they were called Reshis. That's a commentary of Rashi and the Ramban. Is also the words of the prophet where it says, the first harvest, the first crop. By getting rid of evil from the Jewish people, then ultimately, by default, evil is eradicated from the whole world. How do you get rid of evil from yourself and from the whole world? Through Shoftim Veshotrim, judges and officers. The Inyan of Shoftim, what is the concept of a Shofet? The Gemara in Brachos, page 5a, Gemara says that Olam Yagiz Odom Yetzer Tov Yetzer. A person should always instigate and upset the Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, over the evil inclination. Create some kind of anger, positive anger between the good inclination and the evil inclination. Meaning, if the good inclination is not upset by losing the fight, it's a problem. Right? There's a struggle between the good and the bad. So if the good is not taken back by the failing, then you would never put up a fight. So you have to. It has to feel like, oh, I have. It's 0-1. to the Yetzer Hara. So now he wants to get even. He wants to get better. Ve'inyan Shoftim, Kumar V'Seinu Zal, the concept of Shoftim. So we just said about the Shoftim, and now we're saying about the Shoftim. Shoftim is the judges, is the Yetzer Tov. Ve'inyan Shoftim, what is the officers? So the expression in the Gemara, when we said Odom Yagiz Odom, a person should always get his Yetzer Tov angry at the Yetzer Hara. Why the pasuk says Rigzu v'al. What is Rigzu v'al? Get angry but don't sin. Im nitzchoi, if you were able to win the Yetzer Hara, the Gemara says fine. But if not, you should learn Torah. If you overcome him, if you're able to overcome the evil inclination, fine. If not, say Shema. If, because the pasuk says Amishkavchem, and if when you lay down, and if you're able to conquer him, fine. If not, remind him the day of death. The pasuk says V'dei Muselu. So Izkor Yema Miso Shezeu Al Derech Inyan HaShoftim Shenetim HaEnish. So you reminded the Yetzer Hara the punishment. You're not really punishing your body, but you're reminding the Yetzer Hara the day of passing. Many times reminding the sin helps. But the getting the Yetzer Tov, angry at the Yetzer Hara, it says, the Rebbe says it's not moil, it's not helping every single time. It can help, but not every single time. To remind them punishment, it works. But to remind them to anger him, it's not always working. From the Gemara describes all the steps. So the Gemara says, if it worked, fine. If it didn't work, use this. So obviously, it's not always working. But there's an order how to deal with him. You start from A, go all the way to Yazkir Le'Yamami, so remind him of the day of death. Seder Avodah, what's the order? First, you have to have Yagiz Yetzer Tov. You have to anger the good inclination over the evil inclination. Okay. So, Mikolmok, that's the order of how to do it. And now the Yagiz is associated with the judges, meaning remind them the day of death is associated with the evil, with the shoter, with the guard, meaning reminding him punishment. So the guards are there, the officers are there to enforce, right? Enforce the punishment of the judge. But what is the judge doing? The judge is Yagiz. In this context, the judge is reminding the evil inclination about reminding the evil inclination that this is a struggle and I want something else. Yagiz is we're competing over here. So only if it doesn't help, then you should go to the next step, to the shaitus. You start with the judge. Only if it doesn't work, then you go into the next step, which is the shaitu, which is the officer. Now, learning it on a deeper level, the concept of shofet and shaita. judge, an officer. Be'em in eksiv noida b'shorim bailo. This is a pasuk in Mishlei 31:23, chapter 31:23. We said Friday night in the Kiddush. What does it mean? A husband is known in the gates. Noida b'shorim bailo. We said every Friday night. Bailo kuchabechu. Bailo, a husband, is referencing to Hashem. That's what it says in Zohar.
Right.
Delay is machshavet fisa v'klal. What is Hashem? No thought can grasp Hashem. Also a statement from Tikkun Zohar. Kol mokim. Nevertheless, although Hashem is unfathomable, noida b'shorim bailo. He's known. He becomes known. There is a saga. There is an understanding. If you say noida, means he's known. You said bailo is Hashem. Our husband is Hashem, and known in the gate, he becomes known. But you just said leit machshavet fisa, no thought can grasp Hashem. So how he becomes noido? He becomes known through sha'arim, through gates. Through the gates, he becomes known. There's two interpretations. What does it mean, sha'arim? Sha'ar is a gate, right? Sha'arim is plural for gates. Many gates. So first interpretation of sha'arim means each one according to his level, which means that sha'ar is also shiur. It's a measure. It's how much you're able to take. So when it says kol chad lefum shiur dilei, means each one according to his level according to his capacity, intellectual capacity, how much he can understand. So it becomes known to you. It's known maybe 100%. To someone else, it's known less. Why? It says because your service is not similar to someone else's service. Each one has its unique own way of serving Hashem. Although all the neshamas, the souls they fit, they are similar to one another. V'kulanu ke'echad, we're all one. Zalter Rebbe writes in Tanya, chapter 32, Lamed Beis, over there, kulanu ke'echad, all one. We call mokim. There's still differences between one person to another, and each one has his shiur, as his level, as a special, unique level. Ariklolus neshamas Yisrael, but in general, neshamas Yisrael are one metzius, are one entity. Nechlokas shishuri b'neshos pratis, are then divided to 600,000 private souls, particular souls. Shehem sheiroshim, they are the roots. Every sheresh, every root is then divided into 600,000 sparks. So in essence, in actuality, in practicality, we see that there is difference between the neshamas. And every neshama has its own inyan, its own concept, its own mission. Therefore, your avoid is not the same as mine. Your labor, your way you serve Hashem is different than the way I serve. Classical example is the tribes. Reuven, his inyan is re'iyah, and Shimon, his inyan is shmiya. One is seeing, one is hearing. Different levels of how to serve Hashem. Where the Levi's level is inyan of connection, schabus, bonding with Hashem. Parsh Vayechi discusses the difference between the Aved of the Shvatim, the tribes, each one serves Hashem in a different way. Pirush B'Shorim, Kol Chad V'Chad from Shur Dilei, Kosher Pershim B'Shor, Milosh and Shur Gvul. So we said before that there are a few interpretations to She'orim, right? What is She'orim? So the first interpretation was that She'orim is Kol Chad Lefum Shiur Dilei. That each one according to his level. It's a shiur, it's a measurement. What is the second pirush in She'orim? Shiur Gvul. There's limitation. שהרי עבודו של כל אחד, אפילו כשיצאו באפן של בלי גבול, מכל כל גם הקדוש ברוך הוא הרי זה בגבול. Says, even if you serve Hashem in a state of, in such a way that it's not limited type of work, from Hashem's perspective, it is limited. It's unlimited for you, but for Hashem, it is limited. Even if you in a state, how much more so if you didn't go out of your limitations? If you went out of your limitations, you are out of your limitations. You're still, from Hashem's perspective, it's still limited. How much more so when you're serving Hashem within your limitations? Kol mokim, nevertheless, noida b'shorim bailo. When we're referencing to serving Hashem in a limited way, Hashem is telling, Hashem becomes known to each person according to his capacity. Meaning Hashem knows exactly how much you're capable of understanding, how much you're capable of grasping. And according to that, he reveals himself to you, according to you, to what you can take. In order to have a revelation according to your capacity, to your shiur, to have a soga, to have grasping in a likus, in godliness. Do you want to have Noida B'Shorim Baila? You want to have a relation of godliness? You have to start off with Shoftim Veshotrim, judges and officers in all your gates. And now this concept is written in Sefer HaMitzvos, the teaching of the Tzemach Tzedek, Story Lubavitcher Rebbe. Now, sheyesh daled shorim b'nefesh. So the Tzemach Tzedek writes that there are 4 gates in the nefesh, in the soul. What is these 4 gates are for? Through them, the soul is active, is doing its thing through these gates, operating through these 4 gates. Now, the mission is the same, the objective is the same, is to get closer to Hashem. But there's 4 different ways that are being utilized for this purpose, to get closer to godliness. What are they? Re'iyah, Shmiya, Reach, and Dibu. Re'iyah is seeing, Shmiya is hearing, Reach is smell, and Dibu is speech. Now he's going to explain each one. Right, the acronym for Shema is Se'u Mo'im Menechem, uplift your eyes to Hashem. Now look who created all this. So you can come to understanding of Lekus, of godliness, through Re'iyah, through seeing. Then you have Shmiya. So the first one is contemplation through seeing. Then you have Shmiya. Vat Yisrael, we just mentioned, Believe Pashas Ekev. Vat Yisrael, Shema. Moshe Rabbeinu tell the Jewish people, now you have to, Pashas V'eschana. Shema, understanding, grasping the Lekus, they're associated with Shmiya. Then you have reach. Avoid v'chinas reach. Kosu. This is a statement in Zois HaBocha, the last parsha in the Torah, where it says Yasimu Ktero v'Apecho v'Chol Mizbechecho. The Bocha of Moshe Rabbeinu to the tribe of Levi. So it says you have to serve Hashem. Avodas Hashem, that it's like the Ktoros, like incense offering. What does the incense do to us? Reach, smell. And then dibur is tefillah. This is a famous pasuk in Parshas Vayetze that Leah had now a time that she didn't give birth anymore. Tamid miledes, she stopped giving birth. She stopped getting pregnant. So apam oide savai, she said, now after Yehuda was born, she said, now I'll thank Hashem, vatamid miledes, and she could not get pregnant from that time and on until later later she was able to get pregnant again. So far we had 4 gates. We have Re'iyah, which is associated with Seum Menechem, uplift your eyes, see who created all these. Shmiya, Va'at Yisol, Shema Lachukim, and we have a smell associated with Levi. Re'iyah Reuven, Shmiya Shimon, and Levi is Simu Ktero Va'apecho, the Kteres, Iyan of Reach, celebration of Reach. And the 4th one was associated with, it's connected with Yehuda, Pam Eide Savayev, Tamid Miledus, Dibu. To thank you after the Dibu. So what is the Akdama, the introduction, so to speak? How do you preface? You have to utilize the 4 gates. You have to have Re'iyah, Shmiya, Reach, and Dibu. How do we get there? Shoftim Veshotrim. You have to have the guards, the judges and the officers. First of all, you have to limit your Re'iyah. Say, this is, I'm seeing this stuff I don't see. Right? You put a gate. She'etzem enov mir'eis biro. Says, first of all, you got to shut your eyes, as the Yeshaya says in chapter 33, verse 15. He says over there, you have to oitzem einov, shut your eyes from seeing evil. Okay? So this is written at length in Reshis Chochmah and Sha'ar Kedusha, and other sources of other books of Musa as well, speaks about seeing things that are forbidden, how serious it is. Impact, how causes a negative impact on the person. Rabbi Rashab also wrote it in Kuntas Aveda in short. שגם כאשר הבוטי בקור רוח ובשעת מעשן מרגישת מזה הספרלו סרידה שראש מחקיקו גדלו בנפש וסבר ובליסר וסרע וסגר סחמון אצלן. Rabbi Rashab says like this. Imagine you're seeing a scene and you're very cold to it. It doesn't excite you at all, right? But it's something bad. You're watching something bad. It doesn't excite you. You koi ruach, meaning you're very cold to it. So you think it's no big deal, right? Because you don't budge. It doesn't change you, and it doesn't create any kind of temptation by you. Okay? He says, it still creates an impression, which means it's very strong engraving or great engraving within you. And this prohibited seeing, prohibited vision would not pass without an arousal of evil in a revealed way, God forbid. Meaning it's not going to go without serious consequences. You can't say, oh, but it doesn't, I can see it. It doesn't change me. It doesn't do anything to me. It tells you it does. And it will be aroused. One day it will create some kind of an awakening of evil, God forbid. So that's already Agdor. That's the boundaries, the fences, the walls that you have to put for your eyes. What you are seeing, what you allow yourself to see, what you're not allowing yourself to see. Now, when it comes to Shmiya, you have to also sometimes walk away, not to listen to things that are bad. For example, Lashon Hara, slander and the like. By walking away from slander, the Gemara says, Matzot Lisoy. Right, the Gemara in Erchin 15b, it says you can save two people. You can save three people. What is the three people? So it says you can save the speaker, the listener, and the person that the Lashon Hara is being spoken about. When they come to, God forbid, after 120, if he is being persecuted, they say he didn't listen to Lashon Hara, we don't want to hear it. If someone said Lashon Hara here or listened to Lashon Hara down here in this world, they say, okay, when his time comes, after 120, that they're bringing up all his negative things, all the negative things that he did, they would be listening to it. But if you were careful not to listen to Lashon Hara upstairs, they won't listen to any kind of negativity associated with you. Moshe Kosov, it says in Parsha states, Hashem was not interested in listening. Because the anhaga, the conduct upstairs, is measure for measure. You didn't listen to negative things. We don't want to listen to negative things about you. So you can be in a way, it says that a person can be a great sinner, but he was careful with not listening to Lashon Hara, to slander. When he gets upstairs, he's not going to be judged because they won't listen to it. Measure for measure.
I heard that one of the reasons that the first goal of 70 years was because the Jews didn't talk Lashon Hara. I mean, they did other Averas, but they didn't.
70 years?
After the first Korban.
Oh.
That, like now we have, it's going on forever. Well, it's going on for 2,000 years, our goal is. But that goal was only 70 years.
Because they don't listen to Lashon Hara.
Right.
Yeah, so he says, when you are not interested in listening to anything bad about your friend, as a polim, then as I poil, you are creating when they want to speak negatively about you from above, it will be, no one will listen to it. So now we spoke about limitation of seeing and hearing. Now about smell. What does it mean? It says you have to be careful with hirura. What is hirura? With thoughts of evil. Thought has to do with there. Because the rabbi says, this is also a statement in the Gemara in Yuma, I believe 29. The Gemara in Yuma 29 says, Irurei avero koshim ma'avero. So the concept of measure for measure is brought down in Sanhedrin, the Gemara in Sanhedrin 98. The concept of Irurei avero, thoughts of sin, that are worse than sin itself is mentioned in the Gemara in Yoma 29. V'simonich reicho. The Gemara says, reicho the viso, meaning the thoughts of sin or desiring women are so difficult they are weakening the body more than the actual act itself, the sin itself. That's why the Gemara says reicha the biso, the one who smells the barbecue, smelling roasted meat, it becomes difficult for him because he's now desiring it.
The weird thing
So
is,
the thought of sin is the worst than action.
right, because the whole thing to the point where you actually do it. When you do
Chassidic
it,
also explains that because doing something is with the tool. What tools are you using? Klei Maisa, using your body.
right,
But fantasizing, what do you use? Your imagination, your
Right.
thinking. So you're damaging much more of a sensitive.
right. The thoughts are worse than the Meister act in a way.
Right. So the thoughts you are damaging, contaminating the thoughts. You're damaging a much more valuable
You never think about
tools that you have.
I believe, that smell, you can remember a smell a lot longer than seeing something.
I agree with you. Then it comes to also limitation that we have to put in. We have to create fences for speech. The Rambam speak in the Laws of Deus, this chapter 2, Aloha Dalet, the Rambam writes over there, speak about the importance of silence. The rabbi said, I could not find something better for the body than silence. So when you have agdor, when you have a fences in all these four things, in seeing, in hearing, in the thoughts, smelling, and the dibur, speech, Shoftim Veshotrim, 4 gates, that creates eradication of evil from within, from your midst. And ultimately you getting rid of evil from Am Yisrael. Now you're capable of Noida B'Shalom Bailo, then the revelation of godliness, because Bailo is Hashem. Noida B'Shalom is known in your gates, in your capacity, in your measure, in your shiur. That's what it says. Kol chad v'chad lefum shiur delay. Each one according to his capacity. Dalet, line 22. העניין שפטים ושטים תמכות שורכו, כפי שהוא בא ויש כל אחד מישראל, פעלים שהעניין זה שפטים ושטים תמכות שורכו, גם כפשוטי. ושכוסו, in Yeshayahu, the prophecy of Mashiach, Vashiva Shaftach Kvarishenu, Vatzach Kavatchilo, Begula Amiti Hashem, Adam Mashiach Tzidkin. So he says like this: if you were to place judges and officers in your gates, we will cause, if we all do it, we will cause that Hashem will reappoint the right judges and the right officers. There's a Gemara that says that all the problems of Am Yisrael comes from the wrong judges. So if we appoint our inner judges, that would cause a shiva shaftach kvarishon. I will bring back the original judges the way it was in the beginning. Yatzim is usually referencing to advisors. the way it was in the time of Beis Hamikdash. Now we daven for it every day in Shemini Esrei, Shiva Shiftayich, asking for the right judges to come back. So this will happen, the Geula Amitis HaShlema, and the true and complete redemption, on the day Mashiach Tzidkenu, by Mashiach Tzidkenu. So really, this Pasha, Shoftim Veshotrim, gives us the tools to bring Mashiach. That's really what it boils down to. The direct effect is Bi'arta Romik Kirbecha, you're getting rid of evil from within your midst, which can eventually affect Am Yisrael and affect the world. But the whole journey of it is to bring Mashiach. Bruchim to you.